Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and a lot of you guys have seen our Deutsche Bank videos. I went there about a month or so ago and trolled them outside the headquarters in Frankfurt, Germany.
Flying bankers.
Yeah, you got to watch out because they might be falling on you from above, and there's a reason for that because of course they were downgraded last year. They were talking about laying off 1 in 10 employees. They basically collapsed into a small lender, and they tried to merge with Commerzbank, but that didn't work out so well. Again, another thing I was worried about because I was walking down the street from Deutsche Bank, and I had to dodge Commerzbank bankers as well. All just terrible. We're coming to the end of a cycle here, but I can't help but go without talking about this crazy news story that's been coming out that not enough people are picking up on, because why would they? This Reuters article that says Deutsche Bank to set up 50 billion euro bad bank in revamp. And as the article goes into, Deutsche Bank is planning to overhaul its trading operations by creating a so-called bad bank to hold tens of billions of euros of non-core assets, a source close to the matter said on Monday. The overhaul, first reported by the Financial Times, will also include shrinking or shutting equity and rates trading businesses outside of Europe. The bad bank would house or sell assets valued at up to 50 billion euros, $56 billion, after adjusting for risk and comprising mainly long-dated derivatives. The measures are part of a significant restructuring of the investment bank, a major source of revenue for Germany's largest lender, which has struggled to generate sustainable profits since the 2008 financial crisis. It is trying to turn itself around, but has faced hurdles such as allegations of money laundering and failed stress tests. Its attempt to create a German champion through a merger with Commerzbank failed in April. In May, Chief Executive Officer Christian Sowing promised shareholders tough cutbacks at its underperforming investment bank. Shares in Deutsche, which have recently traded at record lows, were up 1.4% in late trading in Frankfurt, shedding some of their gains but still topping the list of German blue-chip companies. Deutsche said in an emailed statement in response to the Financial Times report that it was working on measures to accelerate its transformation so as to improve its sustainable profitability. We will update all stakeholders if and when required, it says. The restructuring costs will force the bank to officially walk away from a key profitability target, Germany's Handelsblatt reported separately later on Monday. And I have to mention that going back a bit, we saw, when we first started talking about Deutsche Bank years ago, derivative exposure at the time of $75 trillion. Of course, they've been caught in all sorts of scandals. They were involved in spoofing markets like gold and silver, which it got caught red-handed in, like any bank, really. And on top of that, just recently with the money laundering scandal, that was a huge story. That was all over the news, but they didn't really talk about how their share prices have been falling rapidly on a regular basis. We're constantly talking about new all-time lows. And with the money laundering scandal, we also have to remember these are the banks that report other people for money laundering to the government, but then they're like the biggest money launderers in the world. So it's just kind of funny to watch them get caught in all that. But John, what do you think about this most recent story about them creating this bad bank?
Well, creating a bad bank, who else have created a bad bank? Oh, yeah, let's see. It was Larnaca Bank. It was a bank of Cyprus. It's not Monte de Parchi, Banca Venti. There was a bank in Spain. There's several banks around the world that have created bad banks. But what happened with them? Well, yeah, they went bust.
Yeah, what happened to those guys?
A whole bunch of money. Oh, there you go. That's what a bad bank is. And this is what's going to happen here as well with Deutsche Bank. I found it just amusing to actually look at the current credit default swap rates, Josh, because they have plummeted. They're actually, now is the best time to get a credit default swap because it's so much less right now because Deutsche Bank is going to fail. So yeah, get insured, make sure that you bet against Deutsche Bank's failure because it's not 222 basis points anymore. It's 92.2, which is actually below banks like Goldman Sachs. So apparently, Deutsche Bank is doing really well. They're doing good. And if you go and actually look at the share price, let me pull the share price up here as well, Josh. And, the share price is up 1.36% today. So it's all good. There's nothing to worry about. So why are we talking about this, Josh?
Invest in Deutsche Bank.
It's a no news.
Don't do that.
That'd be terrible news. No, but what this is just the total opposite. And the economy's done this as well, where we have bad news coming out all the time, but the stock markets and everything just goes the total opposite direction. It doesn't make sense at all. But that we live in the twilight zone where nothing makes sense anymore in the economy, and where it's so manipulated that it just baffles anybody that have studied a little bit of money and economics and how that works. Not a PhD, of course, because these are guys that creates this manipulation. But let's talk about what if Deutsche Bank fails. Who's going to bail out Deutsche Bank? Well, when the banks in Southern Europe failed, well, it was actually Deutsche Bank that was used by the ECB and together with some northern banks. They were used to actually bail out all those nations, the southern nations' banks, through the governments, but through their banks. It was actually a bank-to-bank transaction. It wasn't even going to the governments. That's what people don't understand. And who's going to bail out Deutsche Bank? Yeah, well, I guess ECB is going to print out. If you go and look at the balance sheet just recently in their annual report of 2018, it says about $43 trillion of derivatives is still on their books, and that's still about 4 or 5 times, at least, maybe even more, higher than the German GDP, and it's over. It's almost 60% of the global GDP just in derivatives. So yeah, they're doing fine. There's nothing really to see over there. Meanwhile, they're down year over year, 36.9% or 35. I don't know exact number right now. Deutsche Bank is in real trouble, guys, and what we got to understand is Deutsche Bank is becoming the Lehman Brothers of 2008. But on a massive scale, Josh, we're talking about derivatives here that are $42 trillion versus, the minuscule amount of derivatives that was in Lehman Brothers. But not only is it a problem because it's the number 3 most systemically important bank in the world. It's not like a Lehman Brothers. It's like very, nobody even cared about who Lehman Brothers really were until 2008. One little bank brought down everybody else. But what we got to understand is they are a web of, interconnected investments and derivatives flowing around. And Deutsche Bank is one of the hubs because they are the European hub for derivatives, and they have connections everywhere. So when Deutsche Bank goes, mark my word, you're going to see a lot of chaos around the world, and it's not going to be very nice, to be honest with you, for a lot of people that believed in banks. Think about this. We just interviewed Robert Kiyosaki, and what did he tell us, Josh? Well, he said, I'm not in the banking system anymore. I have my money in gold and silver. I keep 1 year of cash in my saves for my employees if shit hits the fan. So when people that have, over $100 million, starting to worry a lot about the economy, maybe you should take a little bit of a look at yourself and see, why do you have a whole bunch of money in, your pension funds or whatever. That's not an advice, but that's an opinion that comes from people that, manage and are big investors. It's not just coming from somebody random that thinks that, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, well, you have people like Robert Kiyosaki, who he published one of the most important, one of the best-selling personal finance books in history, and he must just be crazy. I love how people just kind of move their way around or kind of scoot around these issues, that guy's just crazy.
It's comfortable with it, right? So they don't want to agree with the message.
It's nicer to be told nice things, good things are good, bad things are bad all the time on the news by CNBC or whatever. But
deposit your money in Deutsche Bank. Sorry, Josh, but yeah, do it.
But I mean, this is a thing though. We have this system that's completely on the verge of collapse. The cash to deposit ratio, when you look at their actual balance sheets, is absolutely terrible. And Deutsche Bank's actually doing better than most of them. So what does that tell you? I believe, and I felt it when I was standing in front of Deutsche Bank's headquarters in Frankfurt, I do believe that they are the domino to fall to lead to a massive global banking crisis. And, many people were saying the same thing about Lehman Brothers way back when, but most people were saying, no, Lehman Brothers is going to be fine. Everything's great.
Yeah, well, the same day, Ben Bernanke said, everything's fine. There's no problems in the housing market.
I kind of want to frame one of his quotes about that and just put him looking stupid on my wall and just,
Or we should just put posters everywhere. Let's get together, fund a whole bunch of money and put out posters like Big the commercial, on the highways, and let's put his name up there, make him famous.
Let's not forget John Maynard Keynes also said that the Depression wasn't going to happen, but Ludwig von Mises did. Ludwig von Mises was worried about that for a long time. But anyway, they call you crazy.
Some history books, Josh.
Something like that. It's weird that some people do that, but it's like when you have these people that are coming out being called crazy for all these years, and they're like, oh, you've been saying that forever. Well, yeah, because we've been right forever. They've been perpetuating this whole system and propping it up forever. It never ended. 2008 never ended. It's just been perpetuated. They printed money and they pushed it off longer, and it's just the fact of the matter is it has to come down. It's just been pushed off, and the longer it's pushed off, the worse it gets. So yeah, maybe they could push it off longer. I don't see how, but there's a way that they could, because I mean, I'm surprised that they push it off as long as they can, or they have. But this idea of it going on forever is absurd. And of course, when Deutsche Bank falls, the German economy, the German GDP is around $3.5 trillion.
And it's shrinking.
And it's shrinking. Well, yeah, who would have thought that? And then you have like Deutsche Bank. What are they at derivative wise right now? They're just
$43 trillion, Josh.
$43 trillion now. Hey, that's an improvement from $75 trillion GDP of the world.
Yeah,
but
there's nothing to worry about, as I said.
they're going to crash and burn. And look, folks, you need to be prepared, and you have to be ready to have solutions and make sure that you understand this. Because if you understand money and you control your money, you're in a good place. But if you don't understand money, then who do you think is controlling your money? It's not you. You're being controlled and led to the slaughter. And if you're pushed down in a bottomless pit of debt, you're forced to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system, pushing you into perfect servitude to them right where they want you. They benefit from that situation. And as they push into a cashless society, you're in big trouble, guys, if you don't smarten up and do whatever you can to be self-sustainable, responsible, financially stable. Look, food, water, shelter, self-defense, you're not gathering things for the toughest guy on the block. And of course, as history has told us, this isn't investment advice, this is our opinion, but history has told us, gold and silver as wealth insurance, preserving your purchasing power. Then of course, cryptocurrencies that are sound, fundamentally useful, and decentralized, most important part, as well as blockchain infrastructure technology that's properly, fundamentally decentralized and useful, all that kind of stuff. So those are all things to focus on. Do your own due diligence, folks, but this banking system is going down, and Deutsche Bank seems most likely to be at the top of that cliff and ready to fall first. And I mean, we like making fun of Deutsche Bank and Wells Fargo, I think, best, but this is going to affect all of the banks.
There's a lot of bad banks out there, not just those guys. And take a look at history. I have in one of my presentations, I have a picture, like I have probably I think 10 pictures, but you see that it's bank runs throughout history. So it happens all the time, and it's going to happen again, guys. And you better wake up. You're going to be very, very, very hurt.
Yeah, you have to start working towards being self-sustainable, responsible, free human beings, decentralize everything, rule yourself. And of course, I mean, the banks are just like legs of communism in the end when they're fractional reserve lending, when they're basically creating vast amounts of debt. Folks, they are criminal entities that work hand in hand with the organized crime racket we call government. So we need to break free from that system. It's old guard, as Robert Kiyosaki recently said to us. And if you haven't checked out our interview with Robert Kiyosaki yet, it's up here on our channel here on YouTube. Make sure to check that out. But anyway, let's wrap this up. It's been a long day for all of us. Thanks for going into this with us, John. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth. Be the change. Like what you see here at WAM, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we're so heavily demonetized and censored and shadow banned. It's getting really bad, folks. If everyone just gave $1 single a month to say Patreon or our Subscribestar, where we do subscriber-only content, we could really get out of this rut that we are currently in as YouTube tries to stifle independent media and prop up the mainstream media. This is really important. This is one of the most important times in independent media history for us to say it's now or never. Let's keep moving forward and let's be that change that we wish to see in the world. Of course, there's also our Bitcoin address below as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And of course, we got events coming up. So make sure to check us out at anarchovegas.com. Anarchovegas.com. Use promo code WAM, that's WAM, for a 10% discount on your tickets. It's on July 19th, 20th, and 21st in, of course, Las Vegas, Nevada. That's anarchovegas.com. Make sure to check us out there and find us on websites like BitTube and Minds, and just try to support independent media, if not myself, any of the other big independent medias out there, to help us continuously bring our message to you free of charge so that we can really change the guard as we move forward into a dramatically polarized, crazy future. Let's try to make it as sustainable as possible. It comes down to you guys. You are the change you wish to see. You guys will help us get through these tough times. So anyway, check out all those links. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.